By now, you might know who Alyssa Mercante is, but you may not know that she just fired off the first shot in Gamergate 3.0. And if you check my channel, you know I don't talk about this stuff much anymore, but what she just did affects me so personally, I have to talk about it. Now, in case you don't know who Alyssa is, she is the senior editor at Kotaku, which is a dying website that has spent the last 10 years rage baiting gamers to try to make them share articles by having just the worst possible takes and the worst possible opinions. If you ever wondered who's editing these stories and even helping write these stories, Alyssa's your person. Basically, whenever gamers get together and all agree that a thing in the industry is not something we're particularly excited about, Alyssa is there to tell you how wrong you are. For example, she thinks this big fat dude in a wheelchair is sexy, when I promise you there's nothing sexy about being a fat dude in a wheelchair, Alyssa. She's also the type of gaming journalist that'll take the tiniest little grain of truth and turn it into something monstrously wrong, intentionally misrepresenting the truth so that you'll click on her articles, hopefully, even though no one apparently does anymore. And then when she gets caught doing it, she'll gloat about it like she did over Farm Folks. And of course, earlier in the year, when people were beginning to finally reject poorly done representation in their video games, and they put together a list of games that have that poorly done representation in it, saying they didn't want to buy those games, Alyssa was there to tell you how wrong you were, you moron. Of course you like that in your video games, and even though you think you don't want to buy it, you will, you moronic plebe. In fact, if you have a different opinion from her, she'll probably threaten legal action or even harass your wife the way she did with Smash JT. Can you imagine someone being so toxic that they, just because they didn't like your opinion about a video game, they felt the need to harass your wife about it? That's Alyssa. But the worst thing about Alyssa is actually none of these things. It's the fact that she thinks she's the hero in the story. In her mind, she's standing up for different people who are different, like me. I'm differently abled. And she's so confused why even me doesn't like the horrible shit she does. It's gotta be okay, right? Because she's the superhero in the story. She's Captain Marvel, and all you gamers, you're just people who don't understand how awesome she is. In fact, if you're not willing to admit how awesome she is, she will physically assault you, or at least threaten to do so during the middle of E3 coverage.
People in the industry to be a little bit louder about people being mean to other people, and maybe say it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
See, I agree, Alyssa. I think YouTubers should talk about how mean you've been to other YouTubers and stuff like... Wait, is that not what you mean? Okay, just keep going then.
Maybe say, we don't want you around if you're going to be a cunt.
Sure, Alyssa, I have no problem saying I don't want you around, but my mom told me not to use that kind of word, even when the person's being a cunt.
And that the games industry is diverse naturally. Not because anyone's making them be diverse, because the world is diverse, you stupid motherfucker.
Alyssa, a bit of advice. I just looked it up online, and it seems if you want to win somebody over to your side of an argument, you shouldn't look at them all smugly and call them stupid motherfuckers. I think you might have made a mistake there, you stupid motherfucker.
And if you have a problem with that, come fight me. Physically. Bitch.
Has anyone taken you up on that yet?
No, because they're all pussies.
Yep.
Now, it shouldn't come as any surprise that several YouTubers volunteered to fight her, including a YouTuber by the name of Vara Dark, who said, hey, DM me and let's get this set up. And it actually goes a step further than that. Keemstar, the owner of Happy Punch, the man who put on my fight between me and Wings of Redemption, actually agreed to set up this fight so that they could get paid to do it. Not only would Alyssa get to defend video games and all of the diverse people in her community, but actually make a big chunk of change doing it like I did. That's when Alyssa immediately backed out. Because what was her word for people who don't like fighting and getting into fights?
No, because they're all pussies.
Pussies, yeah. I think she's a pussy. She did use like some sort of flimsy excuse, like she didn't want to make Keemstar money, and then Keemstar pointed out that he's lost money on every fight he's ever put together. She'd actually be costing him money And then she said she'd rather it not be on camera. She just wants to meet up and beat the hell out of Ara, and then immediately protected her tweets. Now, Alyssa, because I know you will watch this, let me remind you, it was just a year ago that I actually stepped into the ring against a man who was taller than me, with more reach than me, had trained more than me, was younger than me. I am disabled. I was 48 years old. I could barely stand up, and I was still willing to get into the ring. So any respect I have for you and your cause is completely gone now. I hope you genuinely understand that. Alyssa is every high school bully I ever had, and every gamer I know relates to this to some degree. They want to talk shit, they want to make everybody else's life miserable, and the very first chance that there's a repercussion for what they are doing, they end up crying victim. And it never works, Alyssa, and it sure as hell ain't gonna work now. In your mind, you want to make it a little bit easier, nicer for people who are diverse to make video games and play video games and be represented in video games, but this type of behavior is what makes it worse. You are what makes it worse, and I hope you finally understand that now. You're right about one thing. The problem with the games industry right now isn't the diversity. We have a lot bigger problems with that, with the video games that are coming down the pipeline, and you know what? The biggest problem is you. It's people like you. You sit in your West Coast ivory tower and wonder why we're not buying your shitty video games anymore. And when we tell you why, you tell us we're wrong. We're the ones with the money. We're the ones who decide what we want to buy. We're not the assholes here. When you make us out to be the asshole, guess what? That means you're the asshole. And for the last 6 months, bullying YouTubers, stalking YouTubers, harassing their families. All of this has been a sign of the type of asshole you are. But this moment here on the E3 stage where you stood up and said you'll fight anybody who wants to fight you about it and then ran away from the first fight shows the person you truly are. And it's a disgusting, disgusting person. And that's coming from me. Alyssa, I genuinely hope you have enough sense at this point to just shut the fuck up. Your tweets are protected. Make your mouth protected as well, because clearly you don't have the balls to back it up. So shut the fuck up. The reason it's so hard to be a diverse person in the games industry isn't because of white men like me who may or may not buy your shitty video game. It's women and people like you. You are the problem. Shut the fuck up. I hate making videos like this. I genuinely am not this type of person, but every once in a while, even I stick up for myself. Guys, as always, thank you for watching. I love you very much. I will speak with you again soon, and happy gaming.